Hello, guys and gals, and welcome. So the Campfire chat just finished after probably what is one of the worst patches that has been received by the public in like forever. And let's talk about the most serious point of the Campfire chat, like the most serious one for me anyway. Where the hell was Rod? Like, this was the most boring Campfire chat, full of like just. I mean, they gave us good information. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like we got good information, but it was so boring without Rod there. Like, I mean, come on. Like, number one, like, where was Rod? Like, we needed a little bit of humor in this jank, and there was no humor whatsoever because these three guys are all just big, not funnies. And I don't even understand. We should have had Rod here. Rod actually played the game. I feel like if we had Rod here, we would have got even a little bit better information. Number two blew my mind. Like, blew my mind. Charger kills is a bug. So I'm sure everybody has died to these stupid little punks. Everybody has died to these stupid little punks charging us. And I always thought that it was my fault. Like, I just didn't dodge out of the way in time. That like it was my issue. Like, apparently it is a bug. It is not actually like that is not actually a thing. Like, we are dying to this and it's a bug, and apparently even if you avoid it properly, apparently you're still dying. Like, so basically this right here is a bug, and it makes me laugh so hard inside because I can't count how many times I've died to these stupid chargers. Literally, we are dying from a bug over and over and over again. The hardcore characters that die to this thing deserve a refund.
Effectively, like...
What's up, Spartan? Thanks for the $10, man. Resistances, again, they doubled down on being addressed in Season 2. Like, nothing really changed there. They recognized the crowd control issues, so they basically went over the process of recognizing that there isn't indeed a crowd control issue, and that the spam of the crowd control is absolutely insane, especially when you're in higher nightmare dungeons and you have like 4 or 5 frozen monsters all spamming frozen on you at the same time. Hopefully they do something about that. They said they recognized it and they're looking at ways to mitigate it, but like, I don't know what exactly they're going to do. They kind of talked about like more ways for the player to overcome the thing, so maybe they're going to increase Unstoppable or make Unstoppable easier to obtain, or I don't really know. Yeah. All right. They also said they're going to be increasing the density of HellTides and Nightmare Dungeons, which kind of like goes in direct opposition of this point up here, that recognizing CC is an issue. Like, if you increase the density of the Nightmare Dungeons, you're also increasing the elite of the Nightmare Dungeons, which means increasing the number of those modifiers, which means kind of like doubling back on this very problem. Like, how are you going to like help us avoid the CC spam to the point where we get stuck in an infinite loop of frozen effects when you're also increasing the density? I'm kind of a little confused. Hopefully when they increase the density, they also address this issue as well, because just increasing the density is just going to make this issue worse. They've got to like do both at the same time. Possibility of aspects going into the codex to save space. I really like this one. They talked to somebody, asked the question. Me and the rest of the kinship have been talking about this. We don't understand why the aspects can't go into the their own specific aspect codex. I understand that the Codex of Power is for minimum roll codexes, but my entire inventory is just filled with aspects like that I'm holding onto for builds and imbuing and things like that. And I'm glad that they've brought this up, and I'm glad that they said that they were looking into it, because quite honestly, that's the best way to go this forward, is to take all these stupid aspects and to put them into their own inventory space, their own special spot, because they shouldn't be in my stash tab. Speaking of, they said one stash tab coming, and they did not specify whether it was a shared tab or a personal tab. Now let me say for the record, if it is a shared tab, then it is garbage and it's not even worth it. You might as well not even add it, because one shared tab is a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of space that we need. One shared tab is nothing, and it's just a slap in the face. It's like giving a starving man like one M&M. Like, it's just not, it's like, yeah, okay, I mean, he's starving, and I'm sure he'd like that one M&M, but like, is it really in the long term going to do anything to save his life? Probably not. If it's a personal tab. Now, if it is a personal tab per character, now that's a bigger thing, and that equals up to 10 total tabs. That's right, I have 10 fingers. I haven't chopped one off yet. That equals up to 10 tabs total across an account, which means we could make mules. Now, that is a big change. If it's one personal tab, yay. If it's one shared tab, you can keep it, as far as I'm concerned. I'd rather not even have one shared stash tab additional. Like, I'd rather not even. Like, give me a personal tab for every character, or just keep your shared stash tab, because it's not really, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to fix the issue. Whether shared or personal, as I said, addressing necro minions taking up too many slots, I feel like they just kind of doubled down on that. But here's the thing that really kind of bothers me with this, is that the Necromancer minions take up a skill slot, right? And when you sacrifice them, you get your skill slots back. So you get 2 skill slots, right? But they have these sacrifice bonuses for sacrificing the minions. So when you sacrifice the minions, you're gaining 2 skill slots and bonuses, right? Three bonuses. Whereas when you keep the minions, you're losing 2 skill slots but getting no bonuses. So they've made it objectively worse to keep the minions, because if you ditch the minions, you get 2 skill slots and you get bonuses, you get buffs. The sacrifice bonuses, I think, were a mistake. They should take those away entirely. Like, because at that point, then it's choosing between 2 skill slots and 2 skill slots. So either having the skill slots or not having the skill slots. And then it makes it a little bit more of an even-steven match. Druid companions, they basically said that they didn't even consider that Druid companions would be an actual build, which kind of surprised me. I didn't really think that they would even think that. Like, as far as I was aware, I thought Druid companions was an actual build, but because they have Paragon boards for it, they've got glyphs for it, they've got all sorts of stuff for the companions. But he kind of made it seem like there was no actual like build thing in there, like, and they didn't even really understand that, like, people are trying to build minions. Like, what? Well, I mean, we'd like to see, explore that as an option, but that was really strange. Especially since the minions are honestly really good. Like, if you haven't used the Poison Creeper's like OP. I love the Poison Creeper. It's an amazing minion. The Ravens are pretty good too, to be honest. The only one that's kind of lackluster, in my opinion, is the Wolves. So then this is also kind of what I got. So this is the feeling that I got from the patch. And all right, and I'm going to preface this. Don't hate me. I'm going to preface this, but I think this is a good thing. All right. Overall, they basically said it's going to stay the same. All right. They made the changes for a reason. Their vision, their view of what's going on. Like, them doubling back on the changes at this point is just going to make things worse, and I was actually really afraid they were going to double back on the changes, because I feel like that objectively would probably just make everything worse as a result. And I'm kind of glad that they doubled down and stayed with the changes. Now, let me defend my position, okay? Don't hate me, all right? I've played the season from a brand new, fresh character, and it's kind of grown on me. All right? If you haven't played a brand new, fresh character, I actually really enjoy the new, harder mode. I really wish they hadn't nerfed my survivability as much, but I do like the harder mode that they have created. Okay? To exemplify this, during the first day of the season, I came across the Butcher, and it was actually a tough fight. It was actually hard. Okay, it was actually, for the first time in a very long time, I didn't just one-shot the Butcher. It was actually a toe-to-toe, like literally smack fest, where literally I was dishing out damage and he was dishing out damage, and it was like, by the time I killed the Butcher, it was like, whew, man, like, I can't believe I survived. Like, literally by the hair on my chin, literally, I like barely survived the Butcher. And I commented afterward, I was like, I have never, in the previous, like, couple weeks the game has been out, or like a month the game's been out, I've never had an encounter with the Butcher that was that close. Never. And I have to say that I really enjoyed that level of difficulty, because it felt like at any point I could have made a mistake and died. All right? And I like that. However, and let me put a pin in this and come back, because I have it down here. So communication. I have a big problem with their communication. All right. They did not communicate any of this stuff to us in advance. They didn't tell us what they were trying to do. They didn't give us any patch notes in advance. They didn't do anything to actually mitigate what was going on. There was no public test realm. There was no communication. They just sucker punched us right in the stomach with it, right? They literally just punched us right in the stomach and then walked away. All right? This is wrong. And I said this. They dropped too much on us all at once. They just nerfed like every build into oblivion. They dropped so much on us all at the same time without any kind of forewarning, and it was terrible. I don't like this kind of stuff, and they've got to stop. And they said they're gonna try to do communication up front and actually talk to us about this stuff. But this smacks me so much of No More Noah's Ark. If you guys are unfamiliar with the Bible story, in Noah's Ark, literally God destroys the entire world with a flood, right? He destroys everything, right? And then afterward, he makes a rainbow, and he promises, I'm never going to destroy the world again, right? Never going to do it again, right? It smacks so much of Noah's Ark. Like, they came in with this big, giant hammer and hit everyone square in the kneecap like Tanya Harding. And then afterward, it's all rainbows. We're never gonna do it again. Okay, we're never gonna do it again. We promise. This is the biggest, smack to your kneecap that we're ever gonna have. We're never gonna do it again, right? Like it kind of bugs me because they I don't know. Sork and Barb buffs. Okay, I'm kind of glad that they addressed this. Sorceress and Barbarian. I think Sorceress more so than Barbarian, although I don't know why they don't have Necro in here too, because I believe the Necro is very weak in survivability. Specifically survivability, so let me preface that. But like the Sork and the Necro are probably two of the worst survivable classes in the game. Like it's very difficult to survive on a Necro, and it's very difficult to survive on a Sork because they both rely on intelligence, which goes back to the resistance issues, because their main stat is supposed to be scaling resistances, which is currently broken. So the Sork and the Necro really need some work in terms of survivability, and they just don't have it. And Barbarian is probably one of the only classes in the game that for some reason has like no builds that are like as viable as all the others. Like when you think about like a rogue, you think about twisting blades, you think about penetrating shot, you think about barrage, you think about freaking like it's just there's like tons of viable builds, right? But when you think about Barbarian, like how many viable builds can you name off on the top of your head? And is it the same number as the rogue? And are they all as capable as the rogue, for instance? Like, I feel like the Barbarian does need to be touched, and I'm glad that they talked about that. Obviously, hashtag Nerf Barb. Because, honestly, the Barb has received some pretty hefty nerfs over the past couple patches. And I feel like, especially with the Hoda one, and it really kind of hurt because I saw a lot of Barbarians having fun with the Hoda, and then they were like, we understand that you guys are having fun with this build, but we don't want the build to be based on an underlying bug. But then they were just like, but we're still taking it away from you, and like they didn't offer any alternative though. They didn't give any other option. And they talked about that in the thing. They talked about, like when we take something away, we give a new toy of equal value. Like when I take away Cody's Mr. Pig, I give him a Mr. Alligator. And he's looking at me right now. He said, "You said the magic word." And that way he has something of equivalent value for his toys, right? But they didn't do that with Hoda Barb. They took it away, and they didn't give him anything else, which was a little annoying to me. We do have a patch coming up on Friday-ish. This sounds like an emergency patch to me. I really want to see what's in this. I'm hoping that they actually address some things. I really want to see this stupid stash tab already. I don't care if they've got to just Jimmy fix something in for the time being, but I really would like that personal stash tab. One personal stash tab per character. All of them. All right, all of them. I need every single character to have their own personal stash tab. Stop giving us these shared stash tabs. They're stupid. All right, one shared stash tab shared across 10 characters is not going to do me any good, and in the grand scheme of things, it's useless. One personal stash tab across 10 characters is much more useful, and I would really appreciate that. They talked about treasure goblins having more types. This was a head scratcher to me. Like, I didn't understand why this wasn't already in the game. Like, this one was a real head scratcher to me. Like, the treasure goblin types, I think, was something that was beloved from Diablo 3. Not a lot of people love Diablo 3. In fact, I'm one of those people that don't really like Diablo 3. I think it's overall a bad game with some decent features. And the treasure goblin is definitely one of those features that I think a lot of people love from Diablo 3, even if they didn't love Diablo 3. So even if you hated Diablo 3, even if it was like your literal passion project of hate, most people, even in the hate side, liked the treasure goblins. And it really was kind of weird why we didn't have more treasure goblin types in Diablo 4 on launch when they were already present in Diablo 3. Like, does it really take that much effort to add in this stuff? Like, what? I mean, I guess since they can't even get the horse right, as Jason just pointed out, like, well, I guess whatever. Like, treasure goblins getting buffed. A lot of people have talked about this. They felt like the treasure goblins don't really have really good drop rates, and I kind of agree. I feel like a lot of the times when I kill the treasure goblins, I get like yellows and sometimes blues even, which is really weird. Like, I don't really think they offer as cool of options as they should. In fact, I would like to see them expand upon this. If you watch this, Blizzard, which I hope you do, pay attention. Like, make them drop uniquely special items, okay? Things that can only be gotten by hunting treasure goblins, all right? Find a way to make them feel more than just, oh, this is just a sparkly chest, okay? We want them to feel like the treasure goblins can drop us something special. Something more than just what everything else drops in the game. The treasure goblins have to feel like a unique opportunity to obtain something that cannot be obtained anywhere else. Find a way to make that happen. I don't care what you've got to do. I don't care if you put in some special cosmetic-only treasure goblin items. I don't care if you put in like a special legendary affix that can only be obtained from the treasure goblins. I don't care if you put in a special unique that can only be obtained from the treasure goblins. Whatever it is, add something specifically that can only be obtained from the treasure goblins. Make them feel special. Okay? Make them feel special. If you don't do this, then the treasure goblins are not going to be anywhere near as good as they were in Diablo 3 because they're not going to feel special. What was the special thing in Diablo 3 that made the treasure goblins feel so amazing? Do you guys remember? Do you guys that played Diablo 3, do you remember? Because you got a chance to unlock the secret level to go to the vault. That was the special thing that literally came from the treasure goblins, was the special opportunity to unlock the vault and go there, and it always felt so amazing when the treasure goblins spawned the vault portal. We weren't chasing them for the loot. We were chasing them for the vault. We were chasing them for the special thing that they offered us. You've got to make the treasure goblins feel special too, otherwise they're not the same treasure goblins that we got from Diablo 3. If you keep them as they currently are, all they are at this point is just another chest. They're not even special. Like, all you're doing is you're just playing on nostalgia at that point. So you've got to make the treasure goblins into something more than just simply loot pinatas. And speaking of this, there was something else I wanted to talk about here, and I totally forgot. Lost my train of thought here. I know there's more. Like, I watched this thing, and they gave us a lot of information, and I feel like we need to touch on this for a second. For those of you who have participated in every single campfire chat, like me, so I know there's some of you out there in the 1,732 people that are watching right now. For those of you who have participated in every campfire chat, did you not feel like this was the most informative and actual real communication that we've ever gotten from one of these campfire chats? Like, this literally felt like the best campfire chat that I've ever seen in terms of communication, although Rod was missing and we missed the humor element. But like, they actually answered questions for like the first time ever. Like, it really felt like they were actually answering questions from the community. Like, they not only did they answer questions from the community, but the number of questions that they answered far exceeded any previous campfire chat. And speaking of, the entire demeanor of this, like, felt like their daddy had just chewed them out and they were on here, like, you know, trying to make amends because their daddy told them to come apologize, right? Look, overall, I think this campfire chat was very good. I definitely think that them doubling down on the changes was a good thing, because I think that them doubling back on the changes at this particular point would only result in more issues. I remember what I was going to talk about. Removing multipliers. So they talked about this, and this is something that me and my kinship have been talking about as well. They talked about removing multipliers from the game. If you didn't catch it, go back and look. But the guy on the far side literally said that they were talking about how multipliers cause issues within the game, and he specifically said that they were talking about taking vulnerability and turning it into an additive. So, vulnerable disengage cap locks. Oh my god, what is wrong with my caps lock key? Now, what does this mean for the future of the game, converting the multipliers to additives? Well, it means that we're going to hit less big, huge numbers, but I think it's good for the game overall. These multipliers, I think, are bad because they focus our attention too much on them. Of course we're going to choose a multiplier. As I talked about with the kinship before, if I have 10 apples, and somebody says they're going to give me 10 more apples, and then somebody else says, oh, you have 10 apples? I'll give you times 5 more apples, right? And you're an apple freak. You love apples, right? You even tell the joke about the guy who's crossing a bridge with 3 apples plus his weight of 200 pounds, and the bridge can only support 200 pounds plus 2 apples, not 200 pounds plus 3 apples. How does the man cross the bridge? Well, he juggles them so that at any given time he's only holding 2 apples, right? So you love apples, and you can get 50 apples from this guy who's going to multiply your apples, right? The multipliers are just objectively better in most situations. And so I can understand why they're trying to move the multipliers away from multipliers and more toward additives, because they have too much focus on them. And for very good reason, because the multipliers more often than not are objectively better than every other choice. Okay? And by the way, Granny Smith apples are the best, and anyone who says otherwise is a fool. But I do think it's interesting that they're trying to move away from the multipliers as a whole. And Cody is whining because he wants to go outside and go to the potty. I very much so think it's interesting that they're moving away from the multipliers. Overall, communication would have been key here, and I feel like they failed miserably on communication. But the good thing from this, the thing that we can take away from this, is they got chewed out badly. They got chewed out really badly. And I think in the future we're going to see a lot more communication. Number 2, where's the public test realm? I thought I put this in here somewhere, but where's the public test realm? Where is the PTR? Like, the PTR would have solved this. They could have dropped the PTR on us in advance. We could have tested this stuff out. We could have given feedback. We could have had a chance to digest what was going on. And like, where was the PTR? The PTR is an integral part of Diablo 2 Resurrected's testing realm. Like, whenever they do PTR in Diablo 2, I always feel like the patch is always better for it. For example, let me give you a clear example of why it would be better in Diablo 4. The HellTide Cinders. Okay? What happened with the HellTide Cinders? Or also, the Uber Rares. Alright? The 142 people who got free Uber Rares. Right? This is the kind of stuff that would be caught by a public test realm. This would literally fix those issues. If they had released this patch on a public test realm first, we would have found the HellTide Cinder bug, fixed, never would have made it to live. We would have found the Uber Rare bug, fixed, never would have made it to live. Like, this is the kind of stuff that is happening because they're completely just removing the public test realm from the entire equation. Like, we need the public test realm. Like, I think this patch, above all else, proves that we need a public test realm for the game so that we can actually understand and see these patches in advance and give some feedback. And without the public test realm, how are we ever going to see these fixes? Like, even if they come on these little campfire chats and they tell us what's coming, we can't actually see them in game. We can't actually figure out what's going on. Like, for instance, they said that they're going to be doing a hotfix today, and they're going to be doing a bunch of changes, including Nightmare Dungeons, right? We don't know what that is until we get into game and see it. I mean, it all sounds very good on paper, but at what point do you understand that, like, if we can't see the change before it goes live, I don't understand, like, why. I mean, it could be a bad change. It could be a good change. It could be a mediocre change. It could be a tepid water change. We don't know until we see it, and you're just going to flop it in the game and be like, well, what'd you guys think? And you're like, well, it sucks. Can you remove it? And they'll be like, no, we can't remove it till the next patch. So we just get to deal with the changes no matter what they are until they finish. I mean, texting doesn't cost money. PTR is free. Like, the community as a whole, Bionicle Jackson, the community as a whole is more than willing to test this stuff for Blizzard. We are more than willing to hop on, check out the pet public test realm, build characters, put them together, fix things, like report the bugs to the developers, be like, hey, this is bugged. Obviously, the HellTide Cinders aren't dropping. Let's get this fixed. Like, I just found like 6 Harlequin Crest Shakos in the HellTide earlier. I think maybe there might be a bug that the Harlequin Crest Shakos are dropping too fast. I'm pretty sure I shouldn't have 6 of them, and you got like 1 on your head, 1 on each elbow, and you got like one on each kneecap, and you got them like tied on because, like, why not wear 6 Harlequin Crest Shakos? Just put them all on. Like, yes, that's a mental image now. You have to think about that. Think about a guy literally wearing 6 Shakos, okay? Just 1 on each elbow, 1 on each kneecap, and just two on top of their head. Just not even just 1, but 2 on top of their head. PTR is always free, yes. PTR is always free. It's usually for periods of like 1 to 2 weeks. Where they test the game and then they close the PTR, and usually when they run a PTR public test realm, they update it with the latest patch. You get to hop on, you get to check everything out, and then they close down the public test realm and they ask for feedback. They have like a bug report tool, things like that you can use to really like throw it in there. Usually public test realms copy your characters, so that's a whole thing. They usually either do one of 2 things. They copy your characters from live, or they give you characters pre-made for testing. One or the other. It's usually one or the other. I usually prefer this one because it's better, but they also do this one too, so it depends. PTR is always free. You don't have to pay for public test realm. Public test realm is just a place where they test out potential changes. They can sandbox things. They can throw different things up there, and they can actually like figure it out before it goes live, which is kind of the important thing. Like, I can't believe we're in this day and age and they're not throwing this stuff up in advance on the public test realm. And all of these bugs that we're seeing are coming through because they don't have like an adequate testing phase going through the community. I mean, granted, sometimes the community comes up with stupid ideas, like they do, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's really good. I think I've covered just about everything. I think I recapped it all. I don't want to get this video too long. We're already at like 30 minutes, and this is going to go live on YouTube later. So I would appreciate it if you'd throw me a like. If you watched it live, just hop over, just throw a like on the video. It really helps out the algorithm. I'm going to end the video here, but not the live stream. So as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching, and keep watching.